watch Thailand start to around Coalition Philippines, we would like to welcome you here in our discussion. Um, Before I call on our speakers, I would like to give a brief orientation or background to our discussions this afternoon. We particularly propose this session because we are very interested to see, to arrive at, maybe not to arrive, but to see the current understanding and appreciation to the increasing and strengthening relationship between the ASEAN and China. In the last 10 years, the relationship has developed, and for many people, they understand it more on the economic aspect, and some people are wondering what is the political agenda behind that. So this workshop will tackle both the politics and the economics of this strengthening relations. And in the region, China is increasingly seen as an important actor, not just also in the economic level, but also in the political level. It is seen as an important partner of the ASEAN, especially since the establishment of the ASEAN Plus 3, which is in the center of this linkage. And with that is also the ASEAN-China Free Trade Agreement, which institutionally is the center also of these relations. If we will look back at the regionalisms in Asia, we could see that the trend emerging from the late 80s to the 90s at first is more on the Asia-Pacific level. And that is because of the earlier initiative on the APEC, the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, wherein the more driving force is from the US. And then later on, from the mid-90s up to the present, most of the ASEAN governments are talking more of how to link as ASEAN and how to strengthen the East Asian community. And there's a very ambitious plan also to pattern a new form of regionalism which incorporates the ASEAN Plus 3 and model it after the European model. What will happen, of course, is open for us to observe and to engage in. If we will go back also to the development of the APT, if we would look at the historical point of view, this kinds of attempt at regional formation is not new, although the APT is somehow 10 years old. We can trace it all the way back when Japanese companies started to link with South Korean and Taiwanese companies, and then also reach out to the non-communist member of the ASEAN country. And so in terms of historical regionalism, we can see also that the ASEAN is becoming like on one hand neutral territory, and on the other hand contested territory that the US, Japan, China, and even India are trying to influence. And for these big economies, the partnership with ASEAN is crucial because this will also determine their role in this initiative. On the view of the ASEAN, the strength and weakness of ASEAN as a body wherein there is no leading state. In fact, most of these states would more relate to each other as rival and competitor rather than really a partner. Although there is a growing interconnection between the economies of the country, somehow this weakness, by default, is becoming a strength for ASEAN. Because with this neutrality or with no seemingly more powerful country, the other major partners are seeing it easier to deal with ASEAN, having this nature, than an ASEAN with one or two dominating countries. So if you would look at the history of how this regionalism, the East Asian regionalism is forming, we can see that first it started as a sort of closer relationship between Japan and the ASEAN, and then with the APEC, it's more like the US trying to and then lately China trying to have a more closer role with countries in the region. And there have been a lot of agreements inked by both China and ASEAN, or wherein China joined the ASEAN. So the first one would be the Asian Regional Forum, and then also the Asia-China Senior Officials Meeting, which was way back in the mid-1990s. We also have to bear in mind that in this history, there is also a big change in Chinese policies towards the ASEAN. For those who can look back as early as the early 90s, at first China, maybe even in the 80s, at first China was seen with apprehension by most ASEAN countries because during the time of the Maoist period, many of the subversive organizations and the revolutionary organizations within the ASEAN region were supported by China. So most of the government still have this threat of China supporting the movements against or who are working to topple the ASEAN regime. So there is that wariness way back then. And then at the same time, there is that question of those disputed reefs within the South China Sea. From the Philippines, we call the Stranded Island. So this is always bone of contention between not just China and the ASEAN, but also among the different countries within the ASEAN. There were also, in connection to Taiwan, for example, in the mid-90s as well, there had been those missiles that are going through the Beijing Strait, which try to influence the Taiwanese elections. So these factors sort of gave not a very positive signal to the ASEAN states and kept this wariness of is China, are we going to believe the China peaceful rise or is it an aggressive rise? But I think this negative view is being erased now because since the ASEAN, the Asian financial crisis, China managed to do a lot of measures and positions that address the earlier measures that backfired against its relation with ASEAN countries. For example, during the height of the Asian financial crisis, the fact that China did not devalue its money, the renminbi, helped in stabilizing the region's economy, and also the continued pegging of the Hong Kong dollar to the US dollar helped in that stabilization as well. At least it did not add to the difficulty during that period. And then also the entrance of China or the agreement of China to the APT in a way made Japan agree to it as well. So within the plus 3 partners, China was the first, the ASEAN plus 3. So with China's agreement to the APT, Japan was also forced to be in that because Japan saw that it could not leave China alone with ASEAN, so it has to continue engaging with the ASEAN on the APT level. And as we know from the 2002 meeting of the dialogue partners, the ASEAN plus 3, there have been efforts as well to expand the partnership. So India also got interested, but in the Cambodian meeting there was a big debate whether to include or how much will ASEAN relate with the plus 3 partners. In that conference, China pushed, encouraged by Malaysia, to strengthen the APT and at least keep the other plus 3 partners, meaning the India, New Zealand, and Australia, not within the inner circle, which is a sort of, which was seen as a proxy, actually a proxy mechanism with Japan and the US really pushing for the plus three partners. So before I confuse you with all these plus and with all these acronyms, I would like to go on further and go to the how is the relationship between ASEAN and China after the WTO. Previous to, previous to China's ascension to the WTO, many of the ASEAN countries are again afraid that with this entrance of China in this trading body, it will further diminish the chance of ASEAN countries because most of the ASEAN countries are afraid of the sheer size of the Chinese economy. From the side of China, the strengthening of the China-ASEAN FTA is seen as okay because in a way China's economy is too big. That even if it will sort of, to its own words, sacrifice a bit on the economic level with the ASEAN, it will not be too much of the sacrifice. So in terms of leveling the political and the economic aspect, China is being seen as sacrificing a bit on the economic level because it needed to gain on the political level, because it needed to counter the China threat idea in the region. On the ASEAN level, there are three sort of thinking from the late 1990s to 2005, let's say. One is that, quoting the Singaporean Prime Minister Goh, we have to ride on China's growth. And this become a very dominant notion that China's rise will carry the other ASEAN countries. On the other hand, some ASEAN countries also feel that, wait a minute, we have to first strengthen the ASEAN as a body before we trade with China to ensure that we are strong, we are in a stronger position and not rush into the bilateral relationship. But at the same time, among the many states, there is an increasing appeal towards closer partnership with China because it is being seen as more and more positive to have that relationship. So maybe my last two point would be if we would look at the ACFTA, the Asia-China, ASEAN-China FTA, it is now, it places China at the center of the East Asian regional trade liberalization project. So let us be reminded that this regionalism project is a state-developed project. So it's not coming from below, but it's pushed from above. And with this ACFTA, it put China in the middle of this East Asian regionalism project. But then at the same time, the ACFTA allows ASEAN to maintain central position in the political development of the East Asian regionalism. So for ASEAN, being in the driver's seat is important. So that's why it's maintaining its position in the different regionalisms that it entered into, whether it's the APEC or whether it's the East Asian regionalism or in maybe many forthcoming other kind of regionalism. ASEAN would like to continue in the driver's seat. But how will that work? How will that shape up? It still needs to be seen, and at the same time, from the civil society perspective, I think there is now this idea among many organizations that we have to put some of our attention towards it. Not just because of the threat being felt by the states, but also because it's important also for people-to-people partnership. So in this discussion, us, the organizers, would like to make this as a sharing of understanding. At the same time, if it's possible and if time permits, to have the opportunity to look at possible cooperation between civil societies in ASEAN region and with China. Because this is also one very good very good start that we needed to do, because many of the Chinese civil societies are not linked with the region. And for us in ASEAN, many of the ASEAN groups aware who are their counterparts within China. If they want to discuss about